editors, agents, and also self-publishing. Just a basic primer, if you will. My name is Jeanette Murray, and I am a member of the O'Fallon Writers Group that's held here once a month at the library. Originally, my idea was that we would, just have this conversation during the meeting, and then Susan asked if we could open it up to the public at large, which I was happy to do so, but I am not a public speaker, so if I start stumbling over my words, I am very sorry. I am much better at the written word. That's my thing, so I will do my best, though, to make this worth your time. And if you guys have questions at any point, feel free. It's pretty loose, so just let me know if you guys just throw your hand up or shout it out. I'm totally fine with that. So just a little basic background why I feel like I'm qualified, if you will, to do this. I've been writing for 8 years now, since my daughter was 6 months old, so juggling motherhood and a job and writing at the same time. I write romance novels and women's fiction. I have written 19 books so far. My agent is Emmanuel Morgan. She is now currently with Stone Song Agency. They're in New York City. I have been published with small publishers, ebook only publishers, or EPUBs as we call them. I am currently writing for Penguin Random House, and I have also started stepping into self-publishing on the side. So I've kind of got a wide background from which to draw from. So, but here's my disclaimer, my terms of service, if you will. I am not an authority on any of this stuff. I am not an authority on querying agents or editors. I am simply here to share with you what I know, my journey, my own, as Oprah would say, my truth. I will share that with you. And what I know from other writers that I have encountered over the years. We talk, it is a very close community, and so I know what they have said as well. I am not the end all and I am not the be all of publishing, writing, and all those things. So if you hear something and you're like, that doesn't sound like it's right for me, that's fine, no problem. There are 100 different ways. You talk to 100 different editors or agents and you'll hear 100 different things. So this is just a general overview. It's kind of my way of saying, here's what you can think about, and then you can go from there and create your own process and kind of branch off, do your own research, go from there. So I'm really just here as like your stepping point. I'm like your first step, and then you can kind of launch yourself from there. This is also not a really super in-depth presentation. It's 1 hour. If you guys want in-depth, I could be here for 4 days straight, and I would probably then fall flat on the floor and die. I'm just trying to give you the basics so that, again, you can do your own research from here on these 3 different tracks. Maybe if there's enough, questions, I don't know, we could turn this into a series. I don't know. Go more in depth into each of these. That's totally up to you guys. Or I could just answer the questions and you can say goodbye. Thanks for your time. So those are my disclaimers. So let's start. The first part is that you wrote a book. You should be done with the book. Before you're thinking about editors, before you're thinking about agents, before you're talking about self-publishing, the book should be done. And when I say done, I don't just mean like, I wrote it and I haven't looked at it in 20 years, but surely somebody will want it, right? Probably not the way it is. That book needs to be edited for yourself. You need to have had somebody look over it, preferably several somebodies. You need to be confident, and you don't want to sit there and send it off and say, I wish I had changed X. It needs to be done. Like, you need to be proud of that book. If they put that book on the shelf tomorrow, you'd say, that's my best work. You need to be done. So you have a couple of choices once that book is done, and none of them are right and none of them are wrong. They are what they are. So what counts as right for you? You could go to an agent. If you want to see your book published on a bookshelf with one of the larger publishing houses, there are currently now 4 that continually merge down until we will have like one McDonald's publishing house, I think, at this point. So the big 4 require an agent. You are not going to get into a big 4 publisher, one of the huge ones. We're talking about Penguin Random House or Hatchet or the other 2 that are currently escaping my mind. Told you I'm not an authority. You're going to need an agent. And you might also want an agent, even if you're not going that direction, because they're looking out for your best interest if they're doing their job. You could go directly to a publisher. If you're thinking of a smaller publisher, maybe you've got a niche, or you're doing EPUB only, which is also a completely viable option. They don't necessarily require agents. You could use one for them, but they're not required. So that's another option. Or you could self-publish your book, which means you are literally pushing the book out to the world on your own. It's all you. So we're going to talk about all 3 of those options and why you might want to do them and how you would approach them. So researching is a huge step, and this sounds so boring, and I'm very sorry, but I have to put this out there because this is a huge mistake that a lot of people are going to make. A bad agent is worse than having no agent at all. I cannot stress that enough. Some people think I've got an agent, and it doesn't matter that they signed up for their agency on Tuesday, and I got them on Wednesday, they're mine, and I've got an agent, and I'm agented, I'm represented. That's not what you want. You want a good agent, because a bad agent is gonna completely ruin your life that way. There is no test, there is no license, there is nothing that is required of an agent. I'm a literary agent, and now I'm an agent, because I just said it. That's it. There is no test. There is nothing that stops somebody from, getting a $5 WordPress, website and saying I'm an agent, and then it's done. So keep that in mind as you are looking through your options for agents. An agent without a clue could walk you into a terrible deal at best, or cause you to lose serious money or leave a whole lot of money on the table. So this is what I'm talking about. Kind of think of it like researching a blind date. You've got their name and you have their basic info, but do you not want to know if they have a criminal record? Do you not want to know if they've been married 19 times, or maybe if they're still married? Maybe it's just me, but I would look that stuff up. So, you're on a roll. Okay, all right, let's see. Okay, this part's moving, but not that part. Let's try this. See how this moves? Yeah. This one doesn't. And slideshow. All right. Okay, we're good. Okay. So, step one, you're going to check out this agent's website. They should have a website. If they don't, we have taken a very bad turn already. A website is like number one. You are going to look at what types of books they represent. Not all agents represent all books. Some of them only do nonfiction, like textbooks, cookbooks, memoirs, things like that. Some of them only do fiction. Some of them prefer the light fiction and leave, horror and true crime. Some prefer the darker stuff. So you have to see what they represent. And each agency is going to have, maybe 5 or 6 different agents under them. So some agents may focus on only the nonfiction, and some might focus on fiction, or vice versa. So you need to know, even within the agency, what those agents are representing. You also are going to look for their submission requirements. That's going to be, what do they want? Do they want you to just send the whole book? Just send it. They'll read it or they won't. Send the first 10 pages. Send the first chapter. Like, there's a ton of different stuff that they might ask for. Just the query letter and the synopsis. If you send them the wrong thing, they'll just trash it, because that's you telling them, I didn't look it up, I didn't spend 4 extra minutes to look up your requirements. You want to look up those requirements. After you have done that, and you've kind of written down your list of potential agents that look legit so far, what you want to do is you want to search for them. You want to use a site like Predators and Editors or Writer Beware. So you might put Susie Smith plus Predators and Editors into Google, and then it'll come up with that agent's thread. It's like a forum, and it'll show you. Keep in mind, grain of salt, you'll have some sour grapes on there. You'll have people who are just, bashing people. It's the internet. There are trolls. There are people who just like to say mean things because they're anonymous behind their computer. But there's also a lot of good information in there. There's a lot of things like, she got back to me in 3 weeks. And it was a rejection, but it was nice. Okay, now you kind of know, okay, she's running about a 3-week timeline here. That's helpful information. Or, she told me she wanted more information, so that's great. She's definitely still open or looking. That's good. Then you're going to check their social media if you can. And you don't have to have Twitter to see their Twitter feed. You don't have to have Instagram to see their Instagram feed, or Facebook to see their Facebook posts. A lot of agents and a lot of editors both are on Twitter, though. That's where they do a lot of their connecting with their authors, with readers, with potential writers. So Twitter would be, I would say, your number one. A lot of times they will say on there, you know what I haven't read recently? I haven't read like the best, grittiest true crime. And you're sitting there going, I've got that, I've got that, I've got that, I've got that. So you get to put that in your query letter. That's you telling them, like, look, I pay attention and I did my homework and I know what I'm doing. You can count on me to take this a little farther. And you also might say, okay, they're looking for this. I'm bumping them up in my queue of like who I want to talk to. You're also going to check for their current wait times. A lot of times they'll say, phew, just finished a batch, and so those are out, and so now I'm, back to 2 weeks instead of 4 weeks of waiting and things like that, or something that they're excited about. If you know, hey, I just, sold this futuristic so-and-so that sounds very similar to your book, that might not be the agent you want to go with because they would see you as competition for their current author. Just something else to think about. Yes, back on track. Okay, researching publishers. See previous page. It's very similar. The big four, you're going to be pretty sure that they're not scamming you. Smaller publishers, if you can find their books at Barnes & Noble, you're probably assured that they're not a scam. But the farther down you go, you might be querying these editors instead of an agent. And so you might find, the editors listed under, Smith Publishing. And you might follow or check up on those editors, and they might say the exact same thing. I'm currently looking for, a romantic comedy featuring, a bumbling socialite and, I don't know, ex-football star, I don't know. So, follow those things. That's actually how I got my start. I was following several editors, and one of them was Carino, which is actually Harlequin's EPUB arm. And one of the editors there said that they were looking for something that I had just written. It was actually my very first book, and I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. And she picked it up because I happened to be following her on Twitter, and that's how I got my start. So keep that in mind. It actually works. It was the right place, right time thing. I hadn't written it for her. I just happened to have it. And she happened to ask for it, and I had already done my research to know this is a reputable company, this is a reputable publisher. I just was following the editors rather, on Twitter so I could know who wants this. And so that's what I did. You also want to know what books they are publishing. Again, not every publisher, especially the smaller niche publishers, are not going to publish every single thing. If you have written a cookbook and they are all fiction, that's not where you want to go. So you're gonna tell them by knowing that yes, they do publish this. I did my research. All right, so you have a list of agents or editors that you know for sure, these are legit, these are the real deal, I would be happy to work with these people. How do you go from there? Well, you're gonna write a query letter. It is essentially, I kind of think of it like when you're interviewing for jobs and you send out a cover letter. It's kind of that same theory of, your one-page document, only one, that is meant to introduce your book to them. The novel concept and yourself. It is short, it is businesslike, it is not full of prose and witty banter and things like that. It is really meant to give them the facts, and they can go on from there if that is something that they want. You're also potentially going to give them sample chapters. They will list on their website what they want from you. Follow it directly, I am begging you. If they say 10 pages, they do not mean 11 and a half. If they say your first chapter, they do not mean your first 4. If they say the whole book, that doesn't mean you send them 4 because you're concerned that they might steal your idea. If they're a reputable agent and you've already checked them out, you know that's not going to happen. So send them what they ask for. Nothing more, nothing less. If you do not, they will assume that you did not do your research and that you are going to be difficult or flighty or not pay attention. You don't want to give them that idea. You are also going to write a synopsis. This is something that as a lot of writers hate doing. I actually don't mind it. I write my synopsis first. I'm required to, but that's another story entirely. It is a short and sweet recounting of what happens. Essentially taking out all the details and giving them the skeleton. So your prose and your details are kind of like the flesh and the muscle and the prettiness of your story. You're giving them the skeleton. You're giving them, here are my characters, here's what they're going through, here's the challenge they encounter, here's how they overcome it, or don't. Here's how it ends. No cliffhangers. No, to find out what happens to Maria, ask for the full thing. No, they will trash it because they find that irresponsible, they find that they don't like it. So, tell them how it ends. It's going to be fine, just tell them how it ends. The whole thing from beginning to end. Think about if you're sitting down with your friend and they have 5 minutes to listen to your story from beginning to end. You're not going to give them every single detail. Write it how you would tell them in 5 minutes. So this might be anywhere, depending on how long your book is, it might be anywhere from 3 to 10 pages. If we're talking about a 400-word, Outlander style novel or Tolkien or something, it's probably going to be a 10-page synopsis. If it's a middle grade novel, which 150 pages, maybe 3 pages is enough. That's up to you. But again, know your things, know your stuff, know what each agent is asking. Do not give them more, do not give them less. They will trash your stuff if you do not. So your query letter. I tried very hard to make this clear. There are a million resources online. If you just Google like query letter, how to, or help, or whatever, you will find 100 different resources that are probably going to be better than anything I give you, but I will give you the basics and you can go from there and refine. You're gonna have an opening paragraph, which is your reason for querying that specific agent or that specific editor. So that's going to be, I'm querying you, Miss Smith, because you represent Tommy Thompson, and he wrote this amazing crime thriller, and I'm sure that you will like my, thriller that is along the same vein. I hope you will like it because so on and so forth. It's a cross between, it's a witty cross between, Castle and CSI or something like that. You're gonna have a paragraph or two. If it's a short novel or it's, book of poems or something like that, it's gonna be 1. If it's a novel, longer novel, we're talking 300 pages or so, probably 2 paragraphs about the plot. Super condensed. Think about what the back blurb cover looks like. When you pick up a book at the library, look at this back cover. It does not give away the plot all the way. It gives you just a taste. So think about that. And then you're gonna have a short paragraph about the book, like 2 sentences. It is, a completed work of fiction at, so-and-so, however many, 94,000 words. It is in the, true crime genre. It is a standalone novel, or it is the first of a planned trilogy, or it is the first of an opened series, thinking of like, 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 94,000 books later, here we go. Yes?
Going back to your synopsis,
Yeah.
Let's say you're doing like a series or a trilogy.
Okay.
Do you synopsis? Do you give them the whole, what happens in the whole area?
Fantastic
Or
question.
do you just give them what's happening in the first book?
Haha, good question. So if you have a planned trilogy or a planned series, you are not querying the whole series. You are querying book 1, just book 1. Sometimes they'll say, okay, I want to know what happens in 2 and 3. Could you give us like a 1-page description of 2 and 3? Because I'm very interested in book 1. I want to make sure that we're on the right track for 2 and 3. Sometimes they'll say, look, I like book 1 so much, I'm just going to take book 1 and hope that you've got the goods for 2 and 3. Sometimes, and they'll contract you for all 3 books. Sometimes they will say, we'll do 1, we'll see how it is, and we'll go from there and see, if it's making enough money to justify books 2 and 3. But you are only ever going to query 1 book at a time. Whether you have written all 5 books of this amazing series, or you've written book 1 but there's more to come, you can have those pages ready. You can have a synopsis for books 2 and 3 in case they ask, but you are doing just 1 book. So it's always just 1 book. Excellent question. 1 at a time. Because for the most part, and sometimes they will say, we know it's a series, but we're gonna just do 1 book right now. We'll write a contract for 1 book. Sometimes, again, if they love the book that much and they trust the process and they feel like you're easy to work with because you followed directions, you weren't hard to work with, you weren't a prima donna or a princess about it, or a little prince, they might say, okay, let's trust this person. Let's go for it. It just depends on how that works. But yes, even if it's a series, you're doing 1 book, just 1. Let's see here. Okay, so the short paragraph telling them the genre, very basic info, and then you're going to do a short bio paragraph. You're only going to mention things that are relevant to this book. So if you're writing fiction, maybe you were, creative writing, major at school, or you were, editor of your newspaper, or you write a very popular blog that people read, or you have written, 2 articles for BuzzFeed that got picked up, something like that. If you're writing nonfiction, I'm a professor in this area, or I have studied in this area. I have, extensive knowledge in this area. How do you have extensive knowledge? That's what you're putting in. It's not, I like long walks on the beach and I have a puppy. It's something that is going to tell them, okay, she knows what she's talking about with this. Even if it's fiction, I say, well, it's set in, England, and I was there for 3 years, on deployment, or, or with my husband who was, in the military, something like that. So they're telling them something that's related to the book that makes you feel, or makes you sound more knowledgeable. So, does everybody understand where I'm going with on that one? It's not, I'm single, looking to mingle, and, I've got 2 kids, and I can't stand them, so I write to get away from them, and... All right, so this is not the correct format. This is just a really, really basic, made it up on the fly, feel free to laugh at me, query letter. So, Miss Agent Lady, because you represent Smith Landon, famous science fiction author and my personal hero, I hope you will enjoy Space Dogs, a gripping sci-fi thriller about 2 men accidentally sent into space, and the strain this will put on their bromance. Nobody steal this, it's all mine. So there would be paragraph 1 about the plot. Paragraph 2 about the plot, because of course, how do you not make Space Dogs a full-length novel? Duh. Space Dogs is a completed science fiction novel of 94,000 words. This is the first planned book of the Space Dogs trilogy, though all books will be able to stand alone. So that's how you would, that's how you throw in, this could be something to keep going, but they feel comfortable saying, well, if we don't like books 2 and 3, at least, book 1 won't leave people hanging. Does that make sense how we do that? So that's a good way to make sure that we're going to do that. I was the 2017 recipient of Big Deal Writing Award, as well as runner-up in the smaller, but no less prestigious, Slightly Smaller Deal Award. I am a member of Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America, and I had the pleasure of being the editor-in-chief of Made Up University's school paper. My next project is a crime thriller about a serial killer who used Lucky Charms to lure his victims into his home. I look forward to hearing from you, potential author. So that is another way, and I have to throw this in there as well. That last line, my next project is 1 line. That is how I got my first big publishing deal. They rejected the book I queried them with, and they said, I want that. Send that to me. I had 3 pages written of that. I quickly wrote 4 chapters, and then in about 3 days, with no sleep and lots of crying, and emailed them back and said, thank you so much. Like I just opened that email and I hadn't been scouring my email every 5 minutes for editors and agents. No. Thank you so much for your interest. I'm currently only writing it, but I do have 4 completed chapters. Would you like it? Yes, please send it to me. Sent it to them. They came back and said, how fast can you finish the book? I said, 2 months. They said, oh, great. Here's a contract. That was 2 months of hard work.
Did they come back and get the other ones later or not?
The first one that I queried? Nope, they rejected it, but that went to a different publisher. It's totally fine. So from here, and this is a small publisher, it was a traditional publisher, but they were based out of Chicago. And so this is how I lured them in. They liked my writing, because I had sent them along with this, the required, I think they asked for 3 chapters of the book that I was querying them with. They liked my writing, they knew I knew how to write. They just didn't think that the storyline I had given them was enough. Another publisher did, so but this 1 line had them saying, well, that sounds interesting, let's see about that. So I sent them that, those 3 or 4 chapters, and then I sent them the synopsis for the new book, which was a trilogy for book 1. They came back and said, can you send us a little 1-page for 2 and 3? I sent that, and then they contracted all 3. So that was my first trilogy publishing deal. I took that, because again, it was a small one, and I had actually, queried them straight. And I parlayed that into getting my agent. I was then able, so I took that and I said, okay, I've got a deal on the table with a smaller but traditional publisher. It's easy money. It's right there. I've already done the work. But I knew that wasn't where I wanted to stop. I want bigger deals. I want this one to be a better deal. I hadn't negotiated yet. So I said, okay, thank you for your offer. I'm going to start working with agents for a little bit. Can you give me like a month? And they said, yeah, we can give you a month. No problem. And then a reputable publisher should probably say, yes, I understand that this is what you're going to do. And if they're pushing you to say no, sign now, I want to take a step back. I then went to my top 10, because at that point I had kind of ranked, I had watched who's been selling, who's got the goods, who is making the deals that I want my name on. And I sent them a query, sort of. It's a little bit of a different one, and it said, instead of query, romance novel, 94,000 words like they always want, it said deal pending. They're always going to click that one first, just so you know. Suddenly they're like 6 to 8 weeks of response time turns to 6 to 8 hours of response time. I had 3 offers from that, and so I went with the one that I spoke with her on the phone, and Emmanuel was the one that I decided to go with. So again, you don't want to leave ideas on the table. Just like you don't leave money on the table in a deal, you don't leave ideas on the table. You always want them to know that you're working on something else. If this is something that you're interested in and making a career, because one book is amazing, but it's not a career. So if you want to continue on, or if you know, like, okay, I wrote one, but I want to try another one, tell them what it is in one sentence, because one sentence can turn into 19 books. Just saying. Okay, so you've sent out your queries. Now what? You wait. That's not what anybody wants to hear, but that's the way it is. Some agents will get back to you in 4 hours because they are neurotic and they don't sleep, and they mainline coffee and they answer all of their emails immediately. Some of them will take 6 to 8 weeks or longer. It could take up to 5 or 6 months sometimes. It's a little faster now that they can literally just delete. And some, by the way, will not say anything. They'll just say, look, I usually respond within 6 weeks. If you don't hear from me, that's my way of saying no. So keep that in mind as well. A lot of times you'll just get a form rejection, thank you, not for me, good luck. Every so often you will get that golden nugget of personalized rejection, but they are, I mean, I asked my agent last semester, she called and did a little chat with my kids at my junior high, and she gets approximately 250 emails a day of just queries. That is not business stuff where she has connections, that's just queries. So it is nearly impossible for her to respond, especially to ones that she's like, don't even rep that, don't even rep that, don't even rep that. This isn't even English, don't even rep, I mean, there's just no point, she can't do that. So keep that in mind as well. While you're waiting, you could sit on your hands. If this is the only book that you want to get out there, just wait, it's fine, go about your day. You could continue researching and finding other agents to query. When I got mine, was doing them in batches of about 10. I do, my 10 best, and then I kind of went down from there, and I hit a certain point where I was like, I wouldn't even want to work with this person, so I'm not going to send the query. But you kind of get that feel of okay, this person's representing the big dogs, and this would be my top tier, my gold status, and kind of go down from there. You can work on your serial killer book. The next one that you told them that you were going to work on, get it out, get started. What happens if they ask for it? I'll tell you what, you panic and then you write for 4 days straight, and it's terrible. Or you could begin plans for self-publishing if this isn't going to be, you want the book to get out there, whether they pick it up or not, you can start working on self-publishing. So does anybody have any other questions so far? I know I went through a lot of information and a lot of it was really dry, and I'm very sorry for that, but that is the unfortunate reality of this situation. The writing is the fun part. This is the back end that nobody likes to talk about. It's like how the hot dog's made. All right, if you have questions later, you get home, you're looking through your notes, and you're like, what? I can't read my handwriting, or this lady was talking cray-cray, I need her to clarify, you can email me. I am attached to my phone. I should probably not admit that, but it's true. KatherineJMurray@yahoo.com. I will answer emails, just put in there like, querying question, or publisher question, or library talk question. I will answer if I can, or if not, I will try very hard to direct you to someone who can, or a blog that I know of, or a website of some kind. You can check out some resources that I will tell you about at the very end. You can join the writing group here at the library. We, run by these two ladies right here, we are very inclusive. They are very awesome at leading us, helping everybody kind of find their muse and go from there. You could join an online writing forum. So, again, you have to kind of take into account what you're writing and, whether the place is supportive enough, but that's an option. I am on a writers forum for romance authors. I have found some very helpful people there, and I've met some nice people as well. You could also, I didn't put this up there, I totally forgot to put that on there. A lot of the genres will have their own national group. So Romance Writers of America is a very large one. Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America is a very large one. You pay like a one-time, once a year membership fee, and then you have access to a lot of, webinars and contests and things like that. So that's also an option. If you are writing a specific genre, maybe look to see if there's any reputable national groups to join. And that would be something you put in your bio. That's what I always put. I'm a member of, Romance Writers of America. That told them that I'm taking this seriously. I'm not just like a fly-by-the-night person who just decided one day to write a book and throw it out there. I was actually trying, I was learning, I was joining the community. So, those are some options. Moving on to self-publishing. So, you may choose self-publishing for a number of different reasons. Maybe you want your books to reach readers faster. The current time for published books is anywhere from 8 to 18 months. I mean, it kind of depends on, how long their run times are. So you turn in a book tomorrow and they say, yes, we want this. It could be a year and a half before you see it at Barnes & Noble. Some people don't like that wait time. That's totally fine. Maybe you like control a little too much. Let me tell you, once you turn that book in to them, you have very little control. And if that is going to kill you and darken your soul to the point where you struggle to get up in the morning because you feel like they ruined your book, publishing might not be your choice. Maybe it's self-publishing. That's really cool too.
How much of your book did they change?
Well, so a lot of the editing process, you kind of, there's a give and take. But they will ask for things like, that's a good question. So my first trilogy, I had couple 1 and then couple 2 and then couple 3. I wrote all of couple 1 and then I was writing couple 2 while they were working through couple 1. So book 2, I was writing book 2 while they were, editing book 1. And then they came back and I literally had written the end of book 2 and they came back and said, this was great, we like it, but we want book 3 before book 2. So I had to quickly write book 3 and then half redo book 2 to make it fit in the timeline. So, and not necessarily will they change things just without telling you, but they will ask for, they could ask for little details, just little stuff here and there. They could ask for an entire rewrite. We don't like the way your character comes across, you have to redo her. Well, I wrote her to be snarky. We don't like that she's snarky. Make her, happy and bubbly. You have to decide, are you okay with that or not? It could be a million different reasons. I mean, that's just an interesting one that not a lot of people get. But yeah, so I had to rewrite almost half of book 2 to make it book 3 to fit in the timeline, and then quickly write book 3 to make it book 2. It's, I don't have any control over my covers. I don't have any control over my titles.
Couldn't that be contracted differently if you had wanted some control over the covers?
If you're Nora Roberts, maybe, or, you are, I don't know, George R.R. Martin, yes. If you are absolutely no one who has come in, probably not. Their theory as a publisher is that they're here to do the work for you. They feel like they know what the market currently looks like. They have people they have on payroll who is, their whole job is to study the market. So they feel like they know what the market currently says, and they're going to put out the best book that they think will sell. That's their theory. We can always disagree and say, I hate that. I hate the color blue, and it's all blue. Or, I don't like that it has, birds on it because birds freak me out ever since I saw that Hitchcock film. There's a million reasons why we might not like a cover. Their theory is, we've done the work, we've done the legwork, we've done the research, we know what's best. They're not always right. They're not always right. But they've got the money behind them, and they're going to say, this is what it is, and sometimes, there's give and take a little bit. Sometimes there's not, and they're going to say, no, I have hated about, I'd say 6 of my titles. I hate them. They weren't budging. So at that point, I had already signed the book deal. It was done. Yeah?
Quick question on, say they choose a cover that you, in your mind, you deem inappropriate. Could you, on a moral, level? I know, if we can be nitpicky about colors and font,
right?
We could let slide. But if it's totally sketch, and you're I don't want that, will they work with you, or that's even kind of who cares what you say? How do we run that?
I mean, if we're talking you wrote a kid's book and they want to put a half-naked guy on there or something, I mean, you'd have to ask, why would that publisher even do that? That's probably a publisher that's sketchy themselves, So there's a certain, if you're writing romance novels, you probably have to understand that there's going to be, some skin on there, a guy with a shirt off or unbuttoned, or two, people kissing or something. You can ask, you can always ask. At the end of the day, it's going to depend on what your contract is, and that is why an agent is important, because the agent is going to be the one that can put it in there that, if we can't come to an agreement on X, Y, and Z, like, I can pull it. You know, I can just completely pull it, you know, you'd have to pay that advance if they gave you one. You know, but again, that's that part about researching in the past, you know, like go back through, see what that publisher is doing with their covers. Like, are you agreeing with all of the covers that they've done, you know, in the last, you know, couple of months? Like, are you seeing anything questionable? If you look through 6 months worth of their covers, and they should have them on their website, and you're not seeing anything questionable, you're probably safe. You know, again, you know, some of them will work with you, some of them won't. I had one publisher that I literally said, this cover just does not work. And they said, okay, let's try again. I had one publisher that I said, I don't like this cover. And they said, is your name spelled right? And I said, yeah. They go, we're done here. I mean, you know, there's give and take in everything. Some will give and some will take a lot more. So you have to know, you know, that's that, again, going back to that research part of like knowing, you know, and a small publisher might be willing to work with you a little bit more. The big publishers, you know, again, unless you're Nora Roberts or George R.R. Martin, you know, where you've got some serious cash already behind you because your brand is almost more important than their publisher, they may not be willing to work with you because they feel like they don't have to. Like, you know, you're small potatoes, they can find another one. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. We love our babies, you know, we put these books out there into the world and they're ours and they were ripped from our hearts and every single time we bleed on the page. But we have to understand that when we give them to a publisher, it's a widget. It's their widget. And so at the end of the day, if that doesn't make you comfortable, self-publishing might be for you. Because you have control over what that cover says. You have control over the story. They're not going to make you change that character. You have control over the back cover copy. And you know, you've got control. And so if that is something that's super important to you, then it's an option to think about. Yeah?
I didn't actually know that through self-publishing you actually ever could get a book into Barnes & Noble or anything. I thought that was one of the things I didn't like. I didn't think that was an option. I have not seen a whole lot. It happens. It's very rare though. So how is that? How does it happen ever? How is it even possible?
We'll get to that in just a little bit.
I'd like to add something. I self-published, and one thing I did is that I called the Barnes & Noble that's closest to my house. I told them, hey, I'm a published writer, I just published my book, and I'd like to do a book signing at your store. They agreed, but I had to bring them a copy of my book so they could get in their records. So they won't, and you could, and after I did finish the signing, they said, hey, do you want to keep some copies here for us to try to sell? And I didn't sell a whole lot, so I decided, no, I'll just take them back with me.
Okay.
So as long as
All right,
you make it great.
I just talked to Barnes & Noble about a book that I have published, and you can do a book signing, and you can put it on their shelf, it's self-published, on a consignment basis.
Yeah.
And when you put a book on the shelf at Barnes & Noble and it's consignment, they will pay 40%.
Whoa.
If it's from a publisher, what do they call it, front end or something? Where they can just call the publisher for more books, I think that percentage goes up to about 55. And that's of the, the listed price of the book.
So your contract, when you sign with a publisher, will determine how much you make per book. Typically, a traditional publisher will give you an advance. This is obviously completely off of the beaten track, but we'll get to that. So a publisher will, typically there's two different royalty standpoints. One is for the ebooks, because typically they'll put out the print book and also an ebook. So there's usually it's about, any industry standard for fiction. I don't know nonfiction. I have no nonfiction knowledge whatsoever. I'll be upfront with that. Fiction tends to run from anywhere from 20 to 30% of, I believe, of the net currently. Print books, 7%. You're getting 7%. And now that's outside of the advance. So, that's another thing to consider is that, you're getting money up front, but would you make more on the back end self-publishing? And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But yeah, there are ways to get your books into local Barnes & Nobles, maybe not nationwide necessarily, although there are ways. There are a couple ways. They're expensive, but you can do them. So we'll talk about that. So yeah, if, let's say, you know, another reason you might self-publish is you just want to reach a couple of people and not the world at large. As an example, I am the writing club sponsor at both Carriel and Fulton Junior Highs. I have my kids write short stories of their own, and I put them in an anthology, and I use CreateSpace, which is one of the ways you can print a book out, and they get their own book at the end. This is theirs, and they can also, you know, CreateSpace will give them an ISBN, so they can also be in the library. So we've got copies here at the library, they've got copies at Fulton and Carriel Junior High. These are not up on Amazon, you cannot buy one. These are not up, you know, at Barnes & Noble, you cannot buy one. But this is the perfect solution for my kids. You know, they each get to, you know, order 4 or 5 copies, I just do a bulk order, they pay me, we move on. Maybe you wanna, you know, like do an awesome book that you're gonna give to everybody at your family reunion, and it's your family history. This is a great solution. So that's an option as well. Or maybe your book wasn't picked up by an editor or an agent. It's also an option. I mean, every day they're getting passed over, so it's another way to get your book out there to the world. Regardless of whatever your reason is, it is not wrong. Don't ever let somebody tell you that you self-published your book and that was the wrong choice. I know New York Times bestsellers who self-published their books. They made the choice for their own, but that does not make it less, ever. It does not make your book less than, and no matter what your path is, just do your best at it, and it's fine. Your path is yours. So there is no stigma, and the stigma is, you know, when you're looking at a book on Amazon, how many people honestly check what publisher it is? If you're just like a reader, just a solo reader, not a writer, but a reader. I don't think many do. I do because I'm a writer, and so I'm always curious, but before I started writing, I never looked at who the publisher was. It didn't matter to me. I cared about the story, and they still do. And so every day, it's becoming less and less of a problem or a deal that it's self-published. If it's a good story, it's a good story. End of story. So how are you going to self-publish? You're going to start with that finished book. But now, you're doing everything on your own. You are your own editor. You are your own publisher. You are your own cover artist and formatter and publicist. Although you're your own publicist, no matter what. So you have to take into consideration all those things. That doesn't mean you can't have them done for you rather than doing them yourself, but they still have to be done. So you can either go to a vanity publisher or you can do it yourself. So vanity publishing, necessarily, I don't know, I don't really care for this term, but it's what they use in the industry a lot. So you're going to a company, you're saying, okay, I would like to have you take care of this for me. I don't know editors and I don't know cover artists and I don't want to bother with it. So here you go. Please take it, help me, work with me, but you're paying them. So that's the difference. Rather than, you know, a publisher paying you, you are paying them. They're doing all the work, and then they're essentially giving you back the completed project. And then you can do with it what you want. They'll handle the editing, they'll do the formatting, they'll do a cover art that you work with them on. Here's the big problem. The more that, you know, e-publishing and self-publishing becomes, you know, easier and easier, there are more and more fly-by-the-night, shifty places popping up. You have to be very, very careful when you do something like this. You could be giving them your book, and then you might find it on Amazon 2 weeks later, and you're not getting anything out of that. So you have to be very, very careful when you are picking a again, vanity publisher or a company that is going to help you self-publish to make sure that they're reputable. You want to do your research on this. They could charge you thousands of dollars, and it doesn't necessarily need to cost you thousands of dollars, but they could. They could, you know, tell you huge, unrealistic promises. We're going to get you on the bestseller list. This is amazing. Nobody knows that. Nobody can tell you that. Not even a Big 4 publisher can tell you that for sure. If they're promising to get you on the bestseller list, they are liars. Walk away. All right, there's also the DIY approach. So you write the book, you hire a freelancer to edit it. You hire a cover artist to do the cover for you. Now there's 2 different covers. If you are doing an ebook only, all you're going to see is this, just the front part. If you're doing a print book, you're going to see the whole thing. They cost 2 different prices, so keep that in mind. But you can hire somebody to do that. You can hire a freelancer to format your book, and then you can distribute the book yourself and do the the publicity yourself, which doesn't, distributing the book, you're just uploading it to the websites, and so that doesn't cost you any money. You can also do this on a budget because each one of those things is going to cost money, so keep that in mind. Offer to switch with a friend. Maybe a friend also wrote a book, so you edit theirs and they edit yours. Or several friends. You barter services. This person's an amazing graphic artist and you are going to water their plants for a month while they're in Europe. I don't know, think of something like that. Think of ways that you can do that for less money. You can learn. You can learn to do these things on your own. You can learn to use, Photoshop to make your own cover. You can learn how to format your own book. It's truly not hard. I can do it and I'm kind of an idiot, so just telling you. It can be done. The only thing I would say is don't edit your own book because that waylays terrible, terrible things. Have somebody look at it. Again, you don't have to necessarily pay for them if you can't afford to or you can't justify it, but at least have another pair of eyes look at it. So again, there are ways to do these things for cheaper. You can do them. Once you have your file, so whether you've gone to a company, I guess this works for either way, whether you've gone to a company or not, you've done the DIY approach. You have your file, which is, essentially, your book, and then you have a separate file, which is your cover, so like a JPEG, essentially. You're going to upload those to retailers. So the major ones that I use, because I've done a little bit of self-publishing, I've done 2 books self-published currently, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, which is Nook, Kobo, and Kobo, and then iBooks. Those are the big 4 that I use. There might be a couple of smaller ones that I'm not aware of or that maybe are like in a niche that I don't write in. So you might look out for those as well, but those are my big 4. So that's your job now. You are the publisher. That's literally what you're doing. You are publishing that. So you are going to go on, create an account, with Amazon, KDP, Kindle, Direct Publishing, all these different places. You are going to create an account, and then you are going to upload. It will walk you through them. They expect that you have no idea what you're doing. That's fine. They will literally walk you through it. And at the end of the day, you're going to fill out forms. This is my title. This is my name. My author name. This is what I want the description to be, which would be your back cover copy. But uploading your book is like adding an attachment to your email. It's just press a button, search for your document. There it is. So I upload to Amazon directly. And if you upload to Amazon directly, you get 70% of the profits of the cover price if your book is $2.99 or more. If it's $2.98 all the way down to 99 cents, which is the lowest they let you price your book at, Amazon, then you get 30% of the royalties. So keep that in mind. If you want to upload to iBooks, you have to have a Mac. It must be a Mac. If you don't have a Mac, use a third party. I use a third party for the other 3. I upload it to one place and it sends it to all 3 of them. Now it can send it to Amazon as well, but Amazon is so simple and easy that I just do it separate. So Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and iBooks, I use personally a company called Draft to Digital. It's very simple. Again, fill out all the forms. After you've created your account, they're going to ask for your tax ID. They're going to, direct deposit stuff, and then, there are other ways to do this. There are other companies. I'm not aware of all of them. I knew Draft to Digital because one of my best friends used it, and she does pretty well with it, so I went with that as well. But research them. Make positive sure that they are legit. Just double check. Again, 70% off the cover if you are uploading directly, and your book is $2.99 or more. That's standard. All of these are using the same. If you price it $2.98 or lower, you're getting 30% off the cover. So for a book at $4.99, I receive about $3.50, I think. So every time somebody sells. Yeah.
Do you do any marketing with your self-published books?
So I have a little bit of marketing. I am not as good at it as I probably should be. I have a Facebook page that I started, way back when. I do some Facebook ads, but for the most part, I have a newsletter that's about 500 strong. I've got a reader group. I do reviews, and reviews will sell books. But for the most part, at this point, I let Amazon do the marketing for me. Amazon's my biggest one. I sell, 4 books for every one I sell at one of the others. So Amazon will do also bots. So if you're looking at a book on Amazon and you kind of scroll down past the, all of the, this is what my book is about, you'll see also, customers also bought. That's what we call also bots. And so, you'll see, okay, I'm looking at a book about basketball, you'll see a ton of other basketball and sports books and things like that by maybe different authors or the same author. Once your book has been out there for a while and you've done, 2 or 3 books, your also bots start gelling with other authors that are similar to you. And as long as you continue keeping sales up, then your also bots will sell books for you. But the biggest thing for me that sells books is I write another book. Every time I put a book out, I have a huge spike in my backlist of all books because it'll reach new readers somehow. It'll be on Amazon's brand new stuff, and people who've never heard of me before, even though I've been doing this for 8 years, will be like, "Oh, there's a new person. Holy crap, she has 16 other books. Let's go see what those are all about." So every single time I write a new book and I put it out there, a huge surge of backlist. So every time you find new readers, yeah.
Doesn't Amazon charge a monthly fee to put books on their site, like around $35 a month?
They take off the top. So every book that I sell, at $4.89, I'm getting about $3.50. They're taking that, $1.49 for themselves. But I have never paid a monthly fee for anything on Amazon. Now there might be like a program that I'm not aware of at Amazon. I just publish. I just push my books out there, but I've never paid a fee. They take it off the top. Again, so every book I sell, they take a little bit off for being the distributor.
Where do they get the books from? From the publisher?
So these are these are the digital. So this is how they do it for digital.
Oh, digital.
Yes, these are digital. Now, if you want to do a print book in addition, there are a couple of different companies. I totally didn't put this on there because I completely forgot. Again, I use CreateSpace. It's very simple. It's very similar in that you are uploading the book like a file, just like, you're uploading the proper file, like an attachment. And then they have a deal with Amazon. So if you can connect it, and it'll walk you through the whole steps. There's a video on there that shows you exactly how to do it. You can connect it to your author page, and so it will show up as a paperback copy option on Amazon. So they can, either buy the digital or the paperback, and then CreateSpace will send it. So does that make sense? So
Yeah, the thing that, you see what I have done, maybe was the thing to do. I have had the book published. It's been edited, illustrated. I've got the book
yeah,
in my hand.
right.
It's never gonna be an ebook because of the nature of a children's book that you can color and draw.
Right.
So, and I looked into CreateSpace, but would you use that for a book that's already put together?
Yeah.
You would? Okay.
You're gonna have to go back through and look at your files, and you might have to make a couple of tweaks, but I would consider it. Now, again, I've only ever done fiction. I've never done anything of that scale. CreateSpace may not be the best one to do that. There might be a different, we call them PODs, or print on demand. So they don't print the book until it's ordered. There might be a
That's where
better,
I think you get into the $35 a month deal.
maybe. No, CreateSpace has never charged me $35 a month, but they do, again, they send me a check just like Amazon, well, not a check, it's direct deposited, but they send, money every month, just like Amazon and Draft to Digital do, if I've sold copies. So, and it's, CreateSpace takes their cut from Amazon, and then they give me a cut from what they get, and so, it's very low. I make very little money.
Who mails out the book?
Do what?
Who mails out the book? To the-
Amazon does. So Amazon gets the book from CreateSpace, and then Amazon ships it to the customer.
Oh, okay.
I don't touch the books. I mean, I get my own copies. Like, I'll order my own author copies for a very large reduced rate, but I don't touch any. So if the book, if Joe Schmo goes to Amazon and says, "I want this book in print," I've never touched it.
Well, I have my book in a PDF in a site called Box.
Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with that one. So, but there might be
I'll
again.
pursue it and see. what I
Okay.
can
Yes.
do.
There, like I said, and with fiction or nonfiction and things like that, there might be better ones than CreateSpace. CreateSpace has been great for me for fiction. Just for again, my books will look like this. Not technically this, but it's been very good for me for using it for, again, also my kids' stuff where it's not going to Amazon. I just order them like I'm the author, and also shipping them to customers. But otherwise, I don't touch, so I don't touch those. They handle all that, and then I just get, like a small little fee. Most of my money comes from ebooks. 90% comes from ebooks, so.
So you obviously are self-published and you have an agent. How are you deciding which books are going in which direction?
That's a good question. And that is probably one that would be better suited for a secondary discussion. Essentially, having done this for 8 years now and keeping in mind that I watch a lot of forums and I talk to a lot of people, I know some books publishers aren't currently buying. And some books, like they only, my publisher wants full-length novels. So if I write a novella of like 45,000 words where they want 90,000 words, they're not gonna take that. But maybe that was what I felt like the story wanted. And so I can get that out faster myself. So I write 3 of those really quick between a book that I'm writing for my publisher, and that's just more money for me. And those books get pushed out faster, and they reach more people because they're a little bit cheaper, and some people don't want to pay $4.99 or $7.99, which is what my publisher makes them pay for other books. But they'll try me at $4.99 or $2.99, and then they're like, okay, I trust this author now. I was willing to lose $3 in case she was terrible. Now I'll go buy her $7.99 books because I like her writing. So it's just and again, maybe it's it just depends. It just depends on the the style and the type, and they don't want some things. So yeah.
Isn't Smashwords another one like?
Yes, Smashwords is another one. Is another third party to push to
I
retailers.
think they have a broader platform, which might work for coloring pages.
Okay, yeah. See, I don't have any personal.
It's called Smashwords.
Smashwords. It's all one word, but Smashwords, yes, is another one. That yes, is a third party. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I don't want to run out of time. We got a couple more minutes. Please. There are scammers everywhere. The digital nature of this situation means that anybody can call themselves a publisher or an agent at any given time. That does not mean they are legitimate or realistic. Agents will never ask you for money. If an agent says, I will read this for a fee, they are a scam. End of story. No reputable agent will ever, I beg you to remember this one thing, ever ask you for a fee. No publisher, we're not talking about those companies that help you self-publish, but publisher will ever ask you for money. Money flows to the author. It does not flow away. So if a publisher or an agent ever asks you for money, walk away immediately. They are not reputable. Never. Always have a lawyer read over your contracts. Even though I have an agent who does that and she has a lawyer on retainer, I take them to my own, just in case. Because my agent has her best interest in mind. Now, her best interest often aligns with my best interest, but I don't want to give up my work that I spent 4 months bleeding over, just in case. So I pay $50 and I take those contracts to a local lawyer, or I send them to somebody who I know. Now I send them to somebody else who's not local because they're a little bit more detailed than it used to be. But you can find somebody for $50 and it is worth it. I promise you it is. I would do this. If anybody is offering you grandiose promises, bestsellers, $100,000 or whatever, they are probably just making this up off the top of their head. So please watch out for those. This is, okay. Resources, writers beware, creditors and editors. We talked about those two. Those are the two that you would look at to see if somebody's legitimate as an agent or an editor or a publishing house. Query Shark, this is a fun one. Janet Reed is a very well-known literary agent. She has a blog that she calls the Query Shark, and she will take people's submitted, with permission, queries, and she will literally list what they have done wrong and what she likes. She will break it down every single time. And then check and see if the genre that you were writing has a national group. Romance Writers of America is the one I belong to. I know Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America is another one. I don't know a whole lot of others, but there probably are out there. So, does anybody have any questions? Yeah?
Should you, if you're already on Amazon, should you go to also try to branch digital, or do you just...
I prefer, I like going wide. Obviously, as somebody who I started in being published, and so they went wide for me. I would feel weird only going to Amazon at this point because I do have readers that are other places. Some people, if they're first starting out, they want to try Amazon's exclusive. Gosh, what is it? Is it KU? Kindle Unlimited? They have very favorable terms. Now, if you want to go wide, you're not allowed to under Kindle Unlimited. If you're just starting out and nobody knows who you are, maybe you want to try that for 90 days and see how it works for you. Maybe it doesn't work, maybe you want to go wide. That's totally up to you. If I was a brand new author, I might try Kindle Unlimited for a little bit. It's like a subset of Amazon's Kindle printing. You get in that little people can pay like $10 a month or something and have full access to hundreds of thousands of books or something like that that they can read and borrow, kind of like Netflix for books. And you can get put in there and you get paid for pages read rather than paying for the book itself. That's an option. But I personally go wide, but again, that's just because I have readers on all platforms already, and so that's why I go wide. So it's a good question though. Does anybody have anything else? I don't know if anybody.
I have something. I think that we have enough interest, so those handouts that I gave to not everybody, if you're already in the writers group, I probably didn't give you one. But if you would like to continue this discussion, indicate, and then maybe we can do a follow-up, a part 2, and address more questions and maybe open it up to anything that you're interested in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, official joke question. Have any of your books been turned into a movie?
Yes, 3. No.
At the moment, I was dead.
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
Is that a goal of yours, or?
Do what?
I said, is that a goal of yours?
It would be nice. Some publishers have my movie rights, and I don't have them anymore. When I first started out, I gave them up. I no longer do that because I refuse, and I would rather walk. So this is what mass market paperbacks would look like. These are I just randomly grabbed 2 on my way out because I have a huge box full of books. They send me like 100 every single time there's one coming out. Obviously, I write romance novels, and they cater to that. It's obvious.
Romance Channel. I mean, the Romance Channel and Hallmark would be.
So I was actually offered to write for Hallmark, and they have terrible, unfavorable terms. So, but Hallmark is now coming out. They're movies. They're turning them into books as well. So there was something. Anyway.
Well, anybody who has not been to our writers group, you're invited to stay. And I'd love to give Kat
Or if you need more clarification, my email's back up there again. So you are welcome to write it down and send me whatever you want. And if you want to request a topic, like more specifically go in depth on, publishing or self-publishing, I'm happy to do that. I just try to hit a little bit of everything. So I know that was, yeah.
Is that Wings and Things and Fairy Tale Things, or something like that?
Yeah, Wings, Rings, and Fairy Tale
Are
Things.
you guys selling that? And here's why, because my cousin's in that book. Isn't that Taylor Bird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is there a way for me
Can I
to
come
order
get this
one
copy?
of those?
You can have this one right now.
I'll pay for it.
That was the.
I'm trying to get her to come with me to the meetings, so,
Yeah.
but Mom's birthday's today, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, so, and if you know a junior high kid at Cary or Fulton, they can walk away with one of these if they want to join. Just throwing that out there. So, all right, I'm done.
Thank you.